All right, I want to talk a little bit about grouping up and the survival retreat thing because somebody had commented on one of my videos here. Um, it was about a situation. I think it was about somebody who had to abandon their RV, and they were stuck on the side of the road. The RV had broken down. They didn't have any place to go or anything to do, and they were. Oh, where'd that video go? It's down there. So they, and it was these people here I met at this roadblock situation, and their RV had broken down. They had nowhere to go. They had previously been living out of shopping carts, and they were moving from the RV to their shopping carts. And so what's happened here is somebody started commenting in a video. It's a very, very scary situation to be in. And somebody here, going from by this name here, has had some questions about this. And I've responded to it. I want to respond to it with a video also. The thing about people having to live in the RVs and being at the bottom, being at the survival level, you have to look at human history about how people lived like that in the past, and they would have to live tribally. You have to be able to connect with people and live tribally. And unfortunately, in modern American society, a lot of the people who are at the bottom rungs of society at that point are often they're there because they've been highly dysfunctional, not capable of operating in groups before. But the other thing that will happen is there's decent people who just got exploited at every step of the way. They got exploited by the landlords. They got exploited by the minimum wage employers. They got exploited by the system one way or another. And they ended up with little or nothing for themselves. They may have been exploited by an ex-spouse. And they ended up with little or nothing for themselves. And it unfortunately happens. And it means that you need to very carefully and very quickly start to ration what few resources you have left into an investment of time and social association with those who are going to actually help you. I could spend a lot of money hanging out at night. Yeah, I've done it before. I spent money hanging out at nightclubs that had a high cover charge. Used to do that when I lived in California. Hang out at nightclubs. They had a high cover charge. They had expensive drinks. And I worked in corporate sales, and I was under the impression that socializing in those circles would give me access to the right kind of people that would help me make money. In reality, I did gain access in a lot of ways. I gained access to people who gave me a lot of good inside knowledge on stuff. But I wasn't gaining access that was sufficient to gain enough accounts to keep my job with the advertising company that I worked for. I didn't gain sufficient access to get laid with supermodels as much as I wanted to. So in that sense, you have to look at who's actually going to do you some good. And where do you find these people? Well, look on YouTube. A lot of them do have channels. Make your own channel, make your own appeal out there. There are some decent websites, and you can do some searches for survivalist community. You can look in different intentional communities is one of the search terms you can use. Here's one. I believe these guys are in Tennessee or Kentucky. It's called The Farm. They have a website, thefarm.org. Visit the farm eco village. It's an eco village. It's self-sustaining. It's communal living. You need to realize that if you are going to be poor and you have to recognize the fact that something's happened in your life that made you poor, you have to sacrifice some of that individuality and group up. And if that means keeping your mouth shut around certain people about certain political issues you may believe in, that may be an issue. If it means playing lip service to some other political issues, that may be something you need to do. I lived for a short time in a community. It was very closely related to one of these intentional community things in California, where the other people's political affiliations were probably not really in keeping with mine. But what I found was the people whose political affiliations were in keeping with mine were all upper middle class landowners who really had no sympathy or respect for the guy who came into the mix not having anything, and they didn't, you know. And the thing is, it's one of the problems with conservatives in California not taking care of their own. A major issue. It's a major issue, I think, in a lot of other places too. The idea is everybody's still trying to exploit and take advantage of each other with a lot of that stuff, and it becomes an ongoing problem in the survivalist world. In the patriot community, there's a lot of people who don't pitch in, and they don't call the rest of the patriot community for anything unless they need something. And that's one of the reasons I go around and I contribute a lot. And am I arrogant about a lot of things in there? Yeah. Because I know there's a lot of people who are far more capable and got their shit together far more than I do. They had a far more so-called respectable military pedigree, and they don't do shit for anybody. They don't. They don't do a damn thing for anybody. There's a very, very small number of those so-called elite forces type guys are out there doing anything for anybody. A couple who are relatively respectable are Pastor Dowell. He's got a thing, I believe he's in Tennessee. Where is he? It's here. Here it is. Pastor Dowell. He's got an active retreat. It's related to a church that he runs. He's a former airborne Army Airborne NCO. He's got a lot of stuff going on. If you go to his channel, you're going to see some other stuff that's related to some other people. Now, I have never talked to him personally. We've exchanged a few email type PM things a little bit, comments on each other's channels, that sort of thing. I don't know him very well personally. Some friends of mine apparently do, and they have a little bit of critical things to say about his thing. So you may or may not get along there. Another one is the Pastor Joe Fox and the New to Torah people. You can find them on YouTube here, and they've got a group, I think, in Missouri. I think they're in Missouri. But Joe Fox, and then this brother Ryan Hicks, I believe he has a place going on. A lot of these people have started to get these things together. I watch you guys' channel from time to time, but I'll be entirely honest about something. I'm not a fan of this guy. But you know, he's an okay and a guy, and somebody else may fit in well with that group. There's some other people that have some other groups where I know I probably wouldn't be welcome. Others I am. So I think a lot of the people who have gotten these retreats together is they would more than welcome having more people, another set of helping hands, more people to pitch in. And that's how you need to present yourself if you're looking to hook up with some people. Here it is, right here, the Survival Community Myth by this guy who has a Survival Weekly webpage. You know, it's this guy's opinion. He seems to think it's a myth, but it's also a 2011 article. We go down here, and you know, he's saying that there's not enough of the survivalist places. You know, how is it just a hippie commune with guns? Well, yeah, that is actually how you do it. You run it about like hippie commune because hippies know how to run their communes, and then you add the guns. Yeah, that's probably about the way you do it. The reason he's not going to like it is a lot of these people, it doesn't fit as well with the conservative government employee mindset. It's basically the way it works. You know, conservative government employee types aren't going to like that. You know, there's a lot about it they're not going to like. but he does say, individual. He's true. He's right about a lot of things. A lot of survivalists are generally by nature individualistic and hard-hearted. Don't like being told what to do. Chafe under authority. If somebody's voting on something and all that. That's where a lot of times these retreats work better among people where things kind of hit bottom. They work better where the former military people were mostly lower enlisted. A lot of times, although if there was good leadership, they tend to do okay. If I'm not mistaken, this Ryan Hicks guy was like an E4 somewhere. Pastor Dowell was an E6. Joe Fox was an officer for a while. It depends a little bit on some of these guys. George Heminger, he's got a channel on YouTube, and he's in connection with a lot of people that have retreats in the desert Southwest. If you get a hold of him, he's got a YouTube channel and he's got connections with people, and you can connect with these people. How do you going to get in with this? You have to make it very clear what you're bringing to the table. Okay, make it very clear what you're bringing to the table. If you're able-bodied, if you have resources. One of the things that I'm bringing to the table with a lot of the groups that I'll associate with is solar equipment, solar panels. Okay, that's a pair of pretty big solar panels. I don't know if you can see in comparison to the size of that couch. But that's one of the things. If for me to get a welcome in a place, I expect to pitch in. Okay, so I think I've got about $400, a little over $400 into these panels because I got a good deal on them. As somebody who is not as familiar with the solar business and all that, they want to buy something like that, they're going to pay like $600-700 a panel. But I have a charge controller on the way. I have batteries. I've got a big inverter under there. So for me to get involved with something, I bring something to the table. Now, what John Wesley Wallace talks about in some of his stuff is these places have to be set up. There's no rent and no wages. So if you're actually being involved with somebody's survival retreat, as opposed to just working there, as opposed to just visiting, you're not there to invest in money and then put your name on a deed and then pay a mortgage and then collect rent from people, and hopefully the rent outpaces the mortgage and you're making a profit. You're not there to make a profit off the people. Likewise, you're not there for a job, okay? You're not there to walk away with a paycheck. So it's not the rich man walking away with a profit. It's not the poor man walking away with a paycheck. It's got to be about people pitching in, and you have to make it very clear that you are going to be willing and able to pitch in. If you're poor, I hate to say it, but if you're really that poor that you're also going to be eligible for food stamps and public assistance, then yeah, you sign up for it, and guess what you pitch in? It's going to be the food stamps and the public assistance, okay? Maybe not all of it. Okay, I know some people here in Portland, Oregon. They had a house going. It was a room rental thing, and not everybody participated. I think there was 6 or 7 men living in a house. Of the 6 or 7, I think 4 were pitching in. They were all poor. They're all on food stamps. A couple of them had spent probably most of their adult life in either prison or an institution. But they knew how to pitch in and have an okay lifestyle by pitching in. And their rule was it was half of the food stamps went to the main kitchen. One of the people knew how to cook relatively well. And that's what they did. I mean, they pitched in on that. They didn't pitch in everything, okay? They shared bills. Generally speaking, though, yeah, there was also some people there who weren't pitching in at all. And they just kind of had their own little individual life, and they eventually lived elsewhere. And the thing didn't last all that long because the landlord died, and when his family inherited the place, they just wanted to sell it and get the money. So I don't know what happened to the guys after that, but you have to think about what you're pitching in. And, so I bring solar panels to the table, okay? If I'm going to live someplace full time, I'm also going to work there. I'm also going to, probably pitch in on groceries if I'm at the table. Other times I'm just working. If I'm not expected to be able to have a place there, then that's called being a ranch hand, and I'll leave with my paycheck. Okay, that's how that works. Likewise, I'm not going to go out and pay for the real estate and then have people just reside there for free and then not do any improvements on a place. You got to be able to do some work. If I'm at the situation where I'm just a landlord and I got to go collect rent and all that, I really don't want that either. Okay, I'm not going to get involved with all the tax crap on all of that. I'm not even going to put my name on a deed if that's what I got to do. I'm not going to deal with that. But that's me. Would I loan stuff and expect to get something out of it? Yeah. And if you look at some of my other videos, I have that mobile workshop thing. It's that's a product of people pitching in. Okay, that's not all mine, but it is mostly mine. So, if you're looking at getting connected with a group, a survival group, some of the groups don't have land yet, and so they're traveling around in groups of RVs. You can find them online, make some inquiries, and go for it, especially if, you found out that some of your choices in life have become limited. And do not waste time with people who are just going to sit there and listen, and it seems pretty obvious they're not connected to anything that's going to help you out. Don't waste any time with those people. I mean, if you look through the YouTube channels and talk to some people, some of these guys that are doing the off-grid living, and say, hey, do you have room for more people? Listen, we're kind of going broke. We need a place to be. But remember, a lot of those people are going to be as poor as you are. So, you're not signing up to get a job, but you can be someplace where people can watch your back, where you can watch their back. People living in the country, you got to understand that, leaving those country properties totally unoccupied when you've gone to town or gone on a trip means you're extremely vulnerable. You got to have people there. It's really good to be able to know that there's some able-bodied people you could call if your vehicle breaks down in town and somebody else back at the retreat has a vehicle. Somebody you can call and get some help. And you need to be able to have a free enough lifestyle that you can pick up and go help somebody. I got to keep that in mind. So good luck out there, and hopefully this has been some good advice.